guys, and I'm Retro Critic here. And today I'm going to review and talk about SpongeBob Squarepants again, the second season of SpongeBob. Today I'm going to give my thoughts on SpongeBob Squarepants again. So today in this video I'm going to give my thoughts on the second season of SpongeBob Squarepants. I'm going to review it right here. So I'm going to give my thoughts. So I'm going to kind of review and talk about. So today I'm going to review and talk about the second season of SpongeBob Squarepants. And I'm going to give my thoughts. And I'm going to give my thoughts on the second season of SpongeBob Squarepants. So here we go. So this is my favorite season. I'm going to say right now, the second season of SpongeBob is my favorite season. And I'm going to explain why for a moment. And I forgot to mention the first DVD, the first two seasons of SpongeBob. The DVDs that I have, things like my Shout Factory, Paramount, I don't know. Paramount, okay, yeah, but like, did Shout Factory produce this? No, okay, it's just the, but you know, there's a, when it first came out on DVD, it had like individual sets and had just more of a box. The first two DVDs of SpongeBob, they were more set in like a box. This is just maybe an individual case altogether, which is interesting. Very interesting. But like I said, SpongeBob, you know, it's about, you know, Steven, as I said before, yeah, Steven Hillenburg, Steven Hillenburg, he was, yeah, like I said, he started Rocko's Modern Life, and you got like the same people of Rocko's Modern. You got Joe Murray, did Camp Lance, they split, and it's an avenue, it's a good avenue, you can SpongeBob, Rocko and SpongeBob, and it's a good, like, kind of starter. So it's a fast, when you look at Rocko's Modern Life, it's a fascinating, kind of avenue, or like kind of starter to kind of introduction to SpongeBob, and it was like this kind of intro starter to SpongeBob. And look, he has the same voice cast, and you know, and like I said, Joe Murray, he did Camp Lanslow, and it's interesting, he had the same humor on the there's two shows. If you watch Camp Lanslow and SpongeBob, they have the same similar adult humor. Camp Lanslow and SpongeBob, they have the same similar adult humor and similar jokes in their shows. But and it's interesting, you know, they have the same voice actors, like Tom Kenny voices like Hef, who's like a Patrick archetype, and Ed is like Wilbur is voiced by Mr. Lawrence, which is like Sheen. Rocco Carlo is voiced by Carlos Estevez, who like I think voices like Sheen from Jimmy Neutron and Crocker from Fairy Odd. Yeah, he also voices Crocker from Fairy Odd. And you got like Mr. Egghead Frog, like that guy. He's like the Squidward archetype, but the difference is Squidward was more likable and relatable. Mr. Egg is just an antagonist, just a grumpy asshole stereotype neighbor. Because you know the difference is Squidward, he's at least likable and relatable in SpongeBob, and here Mr. Egghead, he's just he's a semi-antagonist. He's of that show. He's just the grumpy asshole neighbor archetype in that show. But other than that, I really like Rocko's Modern Life, and really fascinating. Oh, and Wilbur, yeah, Mr. Lawrence, who voices Plankton, voices Wilbur in the show, which I know. But what I did not know was, I was aware of that. I did know that. But Tom Kenny voices Heifer. I did not know Tom Kenny. Well, I wasn't sure. Now I know, but I wasn't sure that Tom Kenny voices Heifer. Now I do. Now I do. But like, look. But what's interesting is, yeah, Tom Kenny voices SpongeBob. Yeah, Tom Kenny voices SpongeBob, voices Heifer. In Rocko's Modern Life. I mean, Hector's like the Patrick archetype. Well, what's so fascinating is Hector is like the Patrick archetype of that show. So you can kind of see the inspiration of Steven Hillenburg here, kind of where he gets his starting point, point from SpongeBob. And like I said, Steven Hillenburg, yeah, like SpongeBob, and Tom Kenny is SpongeBob, and Patrick is, well, I'll get to that. And like I said, you know, Steven Hillenburg, he's a chem biologist. He's a marine biologist, chemical biologist too, and ocean. And he wants to educate, inform kids of the ocean. He wants younger kids to learn about be informed of the ocean. He wants younger children to learn about the ocean more. He's an expert on sea creatures. So he's an expert on sea creatures and sea animals. He's basically an expert. He's basically an expert of sea animals. And like I said, he wanted SpongeBob to be, and you know, Steven Hillenburg, he also wanted to do a funny, witty show where kids and adults can enjoy too, and it's just this kind of hilarious show where a family can enjoy kids. But he also has this hilarious concept where he just wants like kids and family, just, you know, and adults to enjoy the show too. Make it a family, just, you know, he wants to make it a family show where like kids can enjoy it, but also adults can enjoy it too. So that's the whole appeal about SpongeBob, and it's hilarious, and it gets away with some, at least in the early seasons. Oh my god, it gets away with so many stuff and just so many hilarious episodes. So many really hilarious concept for SpongeBob, really hilarious stuff. But we'll get to that. So, and like I said, what's interesting is But like I said, the show's about, you know, SpongeBob and Play the Fry Cook, Pat Squidward, and Mrs. Krabs, U.S. Soul. Mrs. Krabs, like, yeah, it's just the characters, shenanigans, Puff, you know, there's Plankton, Puff, Pearl, and Pearl's daughter, Pearl. This is Puff, the boarding school teacher, Larry the tough Larry the Lobster. Plankton wants to rule the world. Plankton, who's like the I mean, he's a comedic character, but he's also like an antagonist of the series. Larry the Lobster, who loves to exercise. Larry the Lobster just does jib stuff. Oh my god, all these characters. You get SpongeBob, the happy-go-lucky fried cook, who just goes to he's a fried cook. And he's a happy-go-lucky straight character, but he's smart and he's a straight character in the show. And he's smart and witty and happy-go-lucky too. But he means well. He has heart. Oh, you get Sandy. I forget to mention. You got like the karate scientist Sandy. You get Patrick. Okay, SpongeBob. Okay. SpongeBob, he's like, but no, he's actually, okay, like SpongeBob, he's straightforward. Yeah, he's straight guy in the character. He's happy-go-lucky, but he is smart, and he's smart and clever, and he knows what to talk about, and he's relatable, and he does get like, and you see more of his personality where he actually I like it how you do see him get mad in the show, but it's like for understandable reasons. Like it's understandable why he gets angry and pissed off, and and just moments when SpongeBob gets pissed off, it's actually relatable, and it's actually it's understandable as to why. But like I said, in the early seasons, you see more SpongeBob's real personality. So you see more SpongeBob's depth in this show. So at least around this season, you see more of SpongeBob's depth in this show. And you see Patrick, the hilarious dumb. He's like Patrick, who's like SpongeBob's best friend. Patrick, who's like SpongeBob's best friend. And he's the kind of the dumb friend archetype. He's like the dumb friend, but when he's like an idiot, it's like done right. It's hilarious. They make it funny. Even though Patrick is like the dumb friend archetype of the show, but when they make him out to be an idiot, they do it right, and he's hilarious, and they know how to make, and they do it right of how they make him kind of funny, if you know what I mean. I love that. And they have Squidward, of course, who's Squidward. He's like the archetype. He's like the angry archetype. He's relatable. I mean, Squidward, who's like SpongeBob's neighbor. He's SpongeBob's grumpy neighbor, the angry neighbor archetype. Squidward, but actually in this series, Squidward actually has heart. Squidward, I mean, they make him relatable in this show at least in the early seasons, and they actually give Squidward a heart at least. In Mr. Krabs, Mr. Krabs is the grumpy cheapskate, but they actually, at least in the early seasons before they mess up later, they actually give Mr. Krabs a heart. I mean, sure, he's greedy for money. Later seasons, they just screw up his character. But in the early seasons, like, they actually give him a heart. But, sure, he's greedy, he wants money. But they actually give him a soul in this series. They actually give Mr. Krabs a heart, at least, in this series. Even though he loves money. Okay. Well, that's kind of the cast characters in this show. It's about their everyday shenanigans. It's just a comedy show, and that's what I love about it. Greedy loves money. Loves money. And look, and the show is about just the everyday shenanigans of these characters. They like in this comedy show, I love it. And the show is about just basically SpongeBob's everyday life. SpongeBob and it's just basically about SpongeBob and his everyday life, and the other characters every day. And you actually get to see some of the other characters' everyday life too. And it's just about just kind of like their shenanigans, and it's hilarious. It's about just seeing SpongeBob and his friends and their shenanigans. It's a good comedy show, and it's about seeing SpongeBob and his friends. It's about seeing their shenanigans. It's about seeing their shenanigans. It's about seeing SpongeBob and his friends' shenanigans. And like I said, it's just a good comedy show. That's the whole point. And that's what I like about that. What's really fascinating is, in these DVDs, there was a DVD where, this is that new edition SpongeBob DVDs, First time SpongeBob, the first two seasons when it came out DVD, it was more of in a box kind of set, individual sets. It was in individual sets. But when the first DVD of the first season of SpongeBob came out, it was more in like a box kind of set. The second season had a bigger box kind of set. Now they make it more individual sets, and I don't know what it looks like. And when the second season came out, it was in a similar kind of box set or box kind of set. It was in a similar kind of box kind of set. And like I said, now they kind of re-release these DVDs, and they're now in a more kind of individual sets. And I kind of like it for what it is. And I don't know if Shout Factory kind of produced these DVDs. I mean, it is made by Paramount, so But there's that. But other than that, that's kind of what I have to say about that. Oh, another quick thing is, like I said, what's really fascinating is the casting. God, you got like Tom Kenny voices SpongeBob, of course, and he voices Spyro the Dragon. The Adventure Time. Yeah, Tom Kenny, he voices Spyro the Dragon, the early PS1 Spyro games, and he voices the Ice King from Adventure Time. You got Bill Fagerbach, who voices Patrick Star, and he's in Coach, and I think he's in the series Coach. You got Mr. Lawrence who voices Larry Lobster and Plankton, and you got Mr. Lawrence who voices Plankton and Larry the Lobster. Okay. You got Roger Bumpass as Squidward. He voices Squidward here, and like I said, I recognize him as the dad from Invaders Zim, and he's actually I do recognize him as Dib's dad from Invaders Zim. He's Dib's dad in that show, and he voices like the announcer guy from Where's Carmen Sandiego. You got Clancy Brown. Okay, of course, yeah, you got Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs. And you got Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs, of course, and he's hilarious. And you might recognize him as like the voice of Lex Luthor from the 90s Superman. And you might recognize him as like Lex Luthor from the Superman animated series from when that show came out in the 90s. And also you might recognize him as Neo Cortex from the first Crash game for the PS1 Crash games. And I also recognize him as the voice of Neo Cortex in Uka Uka from the Crash Bandicoot games, from the early PS1 Crash Bandicoot games, and sometimes in the PS2. And I think he also voices those two characters even in some of the PS2 games. Yeah, around that time. But something like that. And like I said, Clancy Brown, he's in Star Trek. He's like a captain in Starship Troopers. He's the bastard. He's the evil, but he's like the evil guard in Shawshank Redemption. I think he's the zombie dad. He's like the sheriff. He's a sheriff dad in Pet Sematary 2, and he turns into like a zombie. He turns into like a zombie in Pet Sematary 2. He's like the villain in the first Highlander movie. Yeah, that's right. He's the villain in like the first Highlander movie. He's in a lot of stuff. He's a really underrated character actor. I recognize him as a character actor, but he's a legendary voice actor too. So a lot of talent. And we have a legendary voice actor. And like I said, Clancy Brown, he's a really well-known character actor. I mean, to me, Clancy Brown is a really underrated character actor, if you ask me. And he's a legendary voice actor too. And Clancy Brown is a very underrated and legendary voice actor too. And another one is, and Mrs. Puff is voiced by Mary Jo Catlett. She also voiced, she's in some live screen, she is in some live screen appearances, but she's also, I do recognize her as Miss Frizzle from Magic School Bus. I do recall her as where she also voices Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. Wow. Got Jill Talley. Okay, Carrie in the Computer. Okay. Karen Lawrence. Okay, Karen Lawrence, Sandy Cheeks, who voices Oral from Oral and Jimmy from Jimmy Neutron. Yeah, she's the same actress. So the voice actress for Sandy Cheeks, she also voices Oral from Oral. Wow. And Jimmy from Jimmy Neutron. Boy genius. My goodness. Wow, okay, a lot of recognizable faces here. Lori Ann voices Pearl. Okay, Lori Ann voices Pearl. Pearl's Miss Crab's daughter. Which I recognize Lori from like Toy Story. Okay, yeah. So she's the voice of Pearl's. She's the voice of like Miss Crab's daughter, Pearl. She's the voice of Pearl. She's like Miss Crab's daughter. And I recognize her as I think the cowgirl from like Toy Story. And I also recognize her as I do know that she voiced the character SWAT. She's in SWAT Cat's Radical Squadron. If you don't know what that is, you know what I'm talking about. If you know SWAT Cat's Radical Squadron, you know what I'm talking about. I kind of saw Gerber Show Cartoon Network. I kind of saw that show on Cartoon Network. I grew up watching it from Boomerang too. But yeah, she voices like the police chief's daughter. She voices the police chief's daughter, who's a SWAT member too. She's like the SWAT cop member too in SWAT Cat's Radical Squadron. So Lauren Ann, really underrated actress. Yeah, she voiced that character. And if you've seen SWAT Cat's Radical Squadron, you know what I'm talking about. But other than that, yeah, Lauren Ann's really underrated actress. But other than that, Lauren Ann is a really underrated voice actress. But other than that, that's kind of the main cast. And got Paul Tibbett, which is interesting is Paul Tibbett. He voices the Doodaloo guy in that episode Doodaloo. And what's hilarious is Paul Tibbett was the co-producer, co-writer with Steven Hillenburg at the time. And then when Steven Hillenburg left, he kind of took over the show. Paul Tibbett later kind of took over the show later on. But, like I said, and speaking of Steven Hillenburg, he also voices Potty and Tom Kenny, the legendary voice actor, voices like, Patchy the Pirate. Well, Steven Hillenburg voices Potty the Parrot, which is hilarious. I wasn't sure, but wow, okay. I wasn't sure if he did, but now I know. But, I do know he... Yeah, so, and Tom Kenny plays Patchy the Pirate, which I do know this. Yeah, so, like I said, Tom Kenny plays Patchy the Pirate, and he's like an obsessed fan of SpongeBob, and it's funny, he voices, he's an obsessed fan of Eternity, he's just a fan, but, it's just like, it's a goofy gimmick. it's a goofy gimmick. And it's where Tom Kenny, he plays Patch the Pirate, and it's about where he's an obsessed fan of SpongeBob. He's the biggest SpongeBob fan ever. He runs the SpongeBob fan club, and it's about him just trying to meet up and find SpongeBob. But what's funny is Tom Kenny also voices SpongeBob too. Tom Kenny also voices SpongeBob too. So it's just him like talking to himself. It's hilarious. It's about him. That's kind of the gimmick. It's just about him being obsessed with SpongeBob, trying to find SpongeBob, trying to meet SpongeBob. Have to be part of his fan. He runs the SpongeBob fan club. Have to be part of his fan club. He's like the biggest SpongeBob fan ever. He's like this fan wants to do things, and he's like this fan that wants to like have SpongeBob like support him or join his club. I don't know, join his club or support him. I don't know. Like fan just it's like I don't know, meet him and sign his autograph, something like that. It's so hilarious. And you find out it's just him talking, just him being himself. It's just him talking, so him being himself. But hilarious. I love it, and it's just a silly gimmick, and you know, God, this show's hilarious. And like I said, Tom Kenny's just such a, really nice gimmick, but like, look, Tom Kenny, he's just such a underrated actor, but also Tom Kenny is also just a very underrated, but also very legendary voice actor too. Very talented, cool guy, very legendary person. And like I said, you got like D. Bradley Baker. D. Bradley Baker. He voices William Fancy's Squilliam Fancy's son, and he also voices voices Obi-Wan in Dave Filoni's Clone Wars, I believe, and he also David Lee Bradley Baker. He also voices a lot of like Pixar, some Pixar characters too. I don't know, and he's in a lot of stuff. He's in a lot of shows. And like I said, he voices Squilliam Fancy's son, who's like Squirt's rival. Oh my God, hilarious! And he's like, and they look like, and you know, he has just the big eyebrows. They just look the same, you know. Like I said, he's like D. Baker. Yeah, he's like Squilliam Fancy, and Squilliam Fancy's son. He's basically Squirt's rival. They compete, and he's just literally, he looks like Squirt, but with Squirt, but he looks like Squirt, but like with big eyebrows. He's Squirt basically, but with big eyebrows. You know, that's what I like. And oh, this is interesting. Bob Jules was his man. So a lot of famous actors. I think Johnny Depp, Surfer Dude one is. I think you even have got a lot of celebrities here. I think you even have like Johnny Depp voicing Surfer Dude one SpongeBob special episode. So like I said, you got a lot of celebrities here. John O'Hurley's King. Okay, John was King Neptune. Wow. Michael McKean is in this. Okay, Mark Hamill voices. Well, he's gonna voice the Flying Dutchman in the new SpongeBob movie. Okay. Mark Hamill. He voices like the Moth character in one SpongeBob episode. Now, what's really nice and cool is so you have like Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, the voice of Joker. He's gonna play like he's gonna voice this Flying Dutchman in like the new SpongeBob movie, which is nice. You know, Mark Hamill, who's like Luke Skywalker and the voice of Joker. He's the voice of Joker from Batman and Luke Skywalker. You know Mark Hamill, who's like who plays Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Mark Hamill, you know, who's like voices the Joker from like Batman the Animated Series. You know. And speaking of the Flying, and also the Flying Dutchman. Speaking of the Flying Dutchman, you got Brian Murray Doyle, who voices the Flying Dutchman in the series. And Brian Murray's basically Bill Murray's brother. And he works with Bill Murray. And Brian Murray's basically Bill Murray's brother, and he plays the mayor in Groundhog Day. And like I say, he works with his brother. He's a really interesting character actor. He plays Jack Ruby in JFK, and I think he plays Jack Ruby in the movie JFK, I believe. And he also does, I believe he plays, like I say, plays like the mayor in like Groundhog Day, and he voices the Flying Dutchman in the series. So he voices the Flying Dutchman. He's known for playing voice in the Flying Dutchman, and he also voices Captain Knuckles in Flapjack. Wow, and he also voices another pirate character. He also voices Captain Knuckles in Flapjack. Wow, okay, very interesting. Another pirate character. You know, very interesting. Yeah, another pirate character. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting to say the least. Definitely. So, like I said, a lot of like I said, got Brian Doyle Murray in this show. So, like I said, a lot of really underrated characters. So, a lot of celebrities. You know, like I said, you got Thomas Wilson, who voices like Flats and other characters. You got like Thomas Wilson, who's like Biff from Back to the Future, and he voices other SpongeBob characters in this show. I'm like, my goodness, you got like Thomas Wilson, who plays Biff from Back to the Future, and he's like April Fool's Day, the slasher. And, what I mean? Yeah, he's in this like slash movie that I do like called April Fool's Day. Really underrated really underrated slasher film with Amy Steele in it. Highly recommend it. Yeah, check it out. But like, look, yeah. So like I said, you got Thomas Wilson, and he voices Flats in SpongeBob. Yeah, he voices he's in that episode. I really like that. And I like how, Thomas Wilson, really, really hilarious, comedian actor and he voices, he voices Flats. He's in that episode I like in SpongeBob. So I really like him in that, Flats episode in SpongeBob, and like I said, you got like Tim Conway, Ernest Borgnine. They voiced Mermaid and Barnacle Boy. You got Ernest Borgnine voicing Mermaid Man, and Tim Conway placing. So you got Ernest Borgnine, Tim Conway voicing Mermaid Man, Barnacle Boy, and Tim Conway voices Barnacle Boy. And like Ernest Borgnine voices Mermaid Man, and Tim Conway voices Barnacle Boy. Rest in peace. They passed away a long time ago, but rest in peace to both of them. And like I said, these guys were like legendary. They were a comedic duo back in the day in the 50s. And I do know that Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway, they were in a lot of 50s and 60s shows back in the day. They were a legendary duo back in the 80s, and they were a lot of big pictures from the 80s and 70s films. But Ernest Borgnine, but I recognize Ernest Borgnine from like Carface and all this. I recognize Ernest Borgnine as like the voice of Carface from All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. Yeah, he's in All Dogs Go to Heaven 2. He's in like the Wild Bunch. He's the Cowboy and Lard Bunch. He's the general. I think he's the general from the Dirty Bunch. I also recognize him. Yeah, I know he's in the Black Hole. He's in a lot of classic. He's in a movie called The Blessing. He's in The Devil's Rain. But I think he plays a character in like the Black Hole. He's in like he also plays another character in like The Devil's Rain. He's a legendary actor. He's in a lot of stuff. He's in like and he's the taxi driver in Escape from New York. And I also recognize Ernest Borgnine from Escape from New York. He's the taxi driver in that movie. And he's also I think he's in a movie called Laser Blast. I'm sorry, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah, Laser Mission. Yeah, Ernest Borgnine was in a Brendan Lee film, Laser Mission. And, what's fascinating is, Ernest Borgnine was in a movie called Laser Mission. I do recognize I do know that he was I saw him in Laser Mission. And, I did also saw Ernest Borgnine in the movie Laser Mission with Brendan Lee in it. One of Brendan Lee's early films before he passed away, too. Before he got killed, really. But like I said, a lot of recognizable faces. Before he before he got killed, really. And like I said, rest in peace to Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway passed away a lot. But like I said, rest in peace with like Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway, and like I said, Tim Conway and Ernest Borgnine, they passed away a while ago, but may they rest in peace. But God bless their soul, But no, I really like their performances here. They're very iconic in this series. Oh my God, wait, John Wright Davis is in this series? God, what? I don't know if he voices, but he does, I don't know if he does like no, I don't think he does Neptune here in the series. Okay, we got Jeffrey Tambor as King Neptune. Okay, he's in the movie. Jeffrey Tambor voices King Neptune in the movie. Okay, but why John? Okay, I gotta know what character he voices. But God, like, why John Wright Davis? That's just so funny. Where you got like John Wright Davis in this series. I don't know what character he voices here in this series. But look, like I said, you got like a lot of like. You got a lot of like underrated. You just got a lot of celebrities here in the series, and like I said, you got a lot of like underrated character actors. Like I said, you got like a lot of underrated character actors, in this series, and you just got a lot of celebrity people in this series. A lot of something, just an amazing voice cast and talent here in this series. A lot of celebrities in this series, a lot of celebrity actors in this series. Oh my God! And like I said, you just got an amazing voice cast in this series. Oh my God! A lot of amazing talent here in the series. He's telling in the series, oh my God. But like I said, this series is amazing, and oh my God. And season two is my favorite, and there's a reason why I say season 2 is my favorite. Yeah, season 2 is my favorite. I love this series. Got like Band Geeks, Secret Box. Oh my God, Secret Box. Oh my God, Secret Box. Gary takes a bath. Welcome to okay, so you got a lot of shoes. Squirrels' day off, or you just want your shoes untie, or just tying a special kind of shoes. Squirrel's day off. Oh my God, it's like him just. It's just him SpongeBob being a maid, just forced the day. It's like Squidward just like finds a way to like just kind of like have a day off from work, and it's like where SpongeBob is like his maid for like a couple days. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Bossy Boots. Oh, I love that one. Dying for Pie. It's where like it's like just where like Squidward. It's like where like it's about where Squidward like accidentally finds like an exploding pie, and Squidward like accidentally like detonates an exploding pie, and it's about Squidward, and he feels like SpongeBob ate the pie, which has an explosion. It's a really weird, funny episode. It's just about an exploding pie, and he feels like SpongeBob ate the exploding pie, but no, it was Squidward that ate the exploding pie. But then it turns out it's just them having and it's like them, and it's hilarious. and sweet too, where it's just SpongeBob and Squidward just bonding together, and SpongeBob and Squidward are just having moments together. And you think SpongeBob has Squidward, but no Squidward exploding pie. And Squidward throughout this whole episode believes that SpongeBob ate the exploding pie, but then it turns out no, Squidward is the one that accidentally ate the exploding pie. Really hilarious episode. Really love that episode. Timid, just blah blah blah. Oh, love that one. Pig Bink Loser, Crazy Patrick episode, Big Christmas Who. Really nice Christmas. That's the Christmas episode. Big Band Geeks is classic. It's the Squidward has a band. It's like where Squidward competes with Squilliam, has a band episode, and it's like, oh my god, just so many. Oh no, Barnacle. Okay, I'm with Sailor Man Waiting Curse. So good. Okay, just a lot of great stuff. And finally, and just here's my thoughts on these episodes. I really like the Chocolate of Nuts one, Survival of the Idiots, Squirrel Jokes. I like Pressure, Smoking Peanut. It's like I like the episode where he competes with Squilliam. One's a restaurant. The other one, yes, competes with Squilliam. There's another episode where he competes with Squilliam for a restaurant. It's like where Squidward's like kind of showing off his rival Squilliam, and he's trying to impress Squilliam. It's a funny episode where Squidward like kind of makes the Krusty Krab his own, pretends the Krusty Krab is his own, and it's like where he's trying to like show off to Squilliam, and then it goes haywire. And so Squidward pretends to own the Krusty Krab, and he turns the Krusty Krab into his own like fancy restaurant, and he tries to make it fancy, but it goes haywire, and it's a mess, and it's crazy, and it's hilarious. And it's just a really good, funny episode. And Shanghai's another hilarious, another great, hilarious fight. Another Flying Dutchman episode. There's an episode where, like, Flying Dutchman appears again, and, like, oh god, like, where, it's, like, kind of Mr. Krabs, except, kind of making it, it's an episode where he made a deal with, like, the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman appears again in this episode, and it's like where Mr. Krabs is like kind of like it's just about him like kind of like trying to find a way. It's like him assuming that he's dead, or just or like more like him finding a way preventing himself from like kind of being dead. It's a really interesting episode, really fun episode. The Secret Box. Oh my god, really like quotable episode. Like, imagination. It's just where they like kind of think it's a crazy episode. It's like where they're like competing in a box. Okay. Like I said, and it's a really hilarious episode where like they're doing like crazy imaginary antics in a box, and Squidward doesn't believe, and Squidward like wants to know how they do those noises. It's like where SpongeBob and Patrick does crazy antics and like imaginary noises in the box, and Squidward wants to know how they do their imagination or how they do those noises in the box. Oh my god, it's hilarious. But that's the episode where SpongeBob does imagination. Yeah, that's the episode where, that has that meme-worthy scene where SpongeBob says imagination. Yeah, that's the episode where SpongeBob says that very meme-worthy line right there. And again, another episode where Gary takes a bath. We're like, oh, okay. Where he makes cereal. And you got that episode where called Gary Takes a Bath, and in the episode Gary Takes a Bath, it's where SpongeBob makes Gary take it. It's like where SpongeBob forces Gary to take a bath, and in the episode Gary Takes a Bath, that's where you have that adult joke where say, oh, the blooms don't. And that's where you have like the weird like kind of rape jail joke here, where it says like doubloons, oh, don't draw them. I did not know what that meant until like years later. Oh my god. But basically, it was like a weird innuendo, kind of sexual oriented, like a kind of adult joke in there. It's basically like a jail rape joke. It's basically a jail. Don't be raping. It's like basically a jail rape. It's basically a jail rape joke, and it's like, oh, don't be raping Jill kind of joke. That's what I like about that. You see, I did not know that until I was older, or until years later. I did not find out about that until I did not know about that until I was older. I did not find out about that until then. But oh my god, that's so amazing. That's so hilarious. Fry Cook Sandy spun him the worm. Oh my god, like, and I love that episode where and they're perch. It's like we're gonna pay it to him. Okay, I love that episode where like there was a giant worm, and they're Sandy and Spun are trying to get away from the giant worm, and throughout this whole episode, Patrick in the town, he convinced the town to push, and the worm. Like, I like how Patrick convinces the whole town to, like, push the whole city away from, like, the worm coming by. And I like how throughout the whole episode, Patrick's like, push! And I like how through the whole episode, Patrick's like, push! Really, really hilarious mental stuff. And then later, like, the worm, like, falls on top and just crashes and hits down at Bikini Bottom anyways. Really hilarious episode. Graveyard Shift. Oh my god, okay, that's not bad. Okay, wait, I'll get to that. So, I know, you got that episode, like, Mr. Krabs trying to, like, oh god, so many great stuff. Trying to, like, like I said, got a lot of good stuff. Him trying to retrieve the hat. There's an episode where Mr. Krabs trying to retrieve a hat from a dead body. He's, like, retrieving a hat from a dead body to get money for a sale. I got an episode where, the Graveyard graveyard shift, where it's like, oh my god, the shrink. It's like the hand slinger, and it's just like regular dude, and the nostril. It's like it's a night shift where they're having like a sorry, that's graveyard shift. That's the episode where that's night shift. Like the hand slinger slash. Okay, sorry, that's the night shift episode. The graveyard shift episode is the one where Mr. Krabs is like getting the hat. It's getting the hat from the grave. Sure, yeah, I like the episode graveyard shift. Where Mr. Krabs is getting like the hat from like the to get to like from his yard sale, and he gets it from the dead body. Yeah, I'm thinking of like but I'm also referring to the episode Night Shift, where it's like the hash slinging slasher and the Nosferatu, and it has like the hash slinging slasher, and it's just a regular dude. It's just a regular dude, and that's like that's the episode where it has like the Nosferatu joke. I like that. Oh my god, so hilarious. I got Doodle Bobby, a freaking doodle. Squid and Strike, that one I love. That one's like where just they go and so Survival of the Idiots, where they survive in camping. Chocolate. Oh wait, I'll get to that. So, Survival of the Idiots, where they just survive they're just surviving the and just create crazy shenanigans, or just surviving the wilderness, and hell the magic shell, and that's the episode that has like hell the magic shell. Oh boy, god, really good stuff. Frankendoodle, which is like the Doodle Ball Pants episode, where it has like the Doodle Ball Pants episode, oh my god, okay, wait. Yeah, you got the Chocolate with Nuts episode, where it has the chocolate, the crazy chocolate, the buy all your chocolate. Oh my god, I love that episode. And it's the episode where, again, I highly recommend, I love this show. But look, it's the episode where, like, they're just selling chocolate, and it's like, and it's the episode where, like, it has the guy that says, like, chocolate? Did you say chocolate? 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 Did you say chocolate? 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 The crazy chocolate guy. Buy your chocolate. Chocolate! It's that episode where they're selling chocolate and they get chased by this crazy guy, like, chocolate! And it's like, no, and I like it how, I like how they're selling chocolate, and the chocolate, like, now that I found your chocolate, now that I found you, and I got where I want you, I found your chocolate and I got where I want you. I'd like to buy all your chocolate. Oh my god, I just love how that scene played out. Really good stuff. Really hilarious episode. Oh my god, really hilarious episode. Oh my god. And the last one is Squid on Strike. Yeah, Squid on Strike. I really like that episode where the SpongeBob and Patrick, they just go on strike. We go on strike forever. So we just met. I like how in the episode where, SpongeBob and Patrick, they go on strike. They stand up with Mr. Krabs for once. They ask for a minimum wage. Okay, they're not fucking around. They tired of cheap stick. I like how in this episode, SpongeBob and Squidward, like, they're standing up to Mr. Krabs for once, and they're not fucking around. I like that. Like, they're, like they want a minimum wage or something, kinda. And it's like God, they just had enough of his cheapskate ass, they get tired of greedy. Yeah, and I like how they get tired of Mr. Krabs being a greedy ass bitch, It's totally relatable. I totally get that. I love that, and that's just hilarious, right? And I just like it how later on SpongeBob just messes around the place as a way of protest, but oh my god. And then, like, Mr. Krabs find out, and he's like, and he just like falls apart, and his body falls apart, and like, it's just, you have to hear from, okay. If you know if you've seen it, you already know. And he falls apart, and SpongeBob was like, trying to find a way to protest, and Mr. Krabs find out, and he flips out, and his body literally falls apart. And I like how Mr. Krabs says, like, you'll be working with me forever. Like how like they just kind of like you just see him just working there forever, a skeleton body. He's like, and so it's like forever, and so it's like forever. And you just see like their dead bodies working out the Krusty Krab, and you just see their skeletal dead bodies working out the Krusty Krab. Skeletal dead body, their dead skeletal corpses working out the Krusty, and you see them like working out the Krusty Krab. So yeah, but look, that's kind of all I gotta say. Like, but look, those are just kind of the episodes I really like. That's all I gotta say. Look, it's just a really hilarious kind of series. That's kind of all I gotta say. You know what, guys? And, I can say a lot about, like, how good, and the episodes are just really good and hilarious here. I can say a lot about that. And look, the episodes are really good and hilarious here. Overall, guys, I do recommend Season 2 of, so I do recommend Season 2 of SpongeBob, guys. And overall, guys, I give Season 2 of SpongeBob Squarepants an 8 out of 10. And I do think Season 2 of SpongeBob Squarepants deserves an 8 out of 10. Those are my thoughts on that, okay? And overall, guys, those are my thoughts on that. I have nothing more to say. I highly recommend this series, and that's all I gotta say. Those are my thoughts on SpongeBob Season 2. Those are my thoughts on SpongeBob Season 2. That's all I gotta say about SpongeBob Season 2 right here. And guys, those are my thoughts. And that's pretty much, like, all I gotta say about SpongeBob Season 2, guys. that's pretty much all I got. That's pretty much all I gotta say. Just my thoughts on this. So I did season 1, I did season 2. Just those are my thoughts on season 1, season 2. That's just pretty much all I gotta say. And those are just all my. Those are just pretty much like all my thoughts of sort of season 2. Just those are just the rest of my thoughts on that. You know. So, but overall, guys, I'm Retro Critic, and I'm out. And I'll see you guys later. And I'll see you guys around. Peace out and bye.